Welcome on this beautiful Friday afternoon to Ask Dr. Geier Live, wherever you're watching. Hope you're making today and this coming weekend, hope you're making it your masterpiece. My name is Dr. David Geier, orthopedic surgeon, sports medicine specialist, and media medical expert. I help you feel and perform your best regardless of age, injuries, or medical history. Not dressed up today. It is let's just say casual Friday. I am curious how everybody's March Madness brackets are doing. Definitely feel free to leave those in the chat. I imagine most people, like me, got destroyed by Kentucky losing. I had them in the Final Four, but in my defense, I am not much of a college basketball fan. Even though I was growing up, I am an NBA fan, and my Grizzlies play tonight, so I'm excited about that. As always, if you have questions, whether it's a health question, health wellness, prevention type question, or if it's an orthopedic, sports and exercise question about an injury or surgery or treatment, leave those in the chat and I will try to address those. Do not leave them in the comments because I am actually not filming this through YouTube. It's sent to YouTube through a software called Restream, so I can only see the chat. So definitely leave those in the chat. Also, as I always say, this is not medical advice. I will talk about the injury you bring up. I'll talk about the surgery or treatment or recovery, whatever it is, but it is not meant to be intended as medical advice. You take that information and you can go to an orthopedic surgeon somewhere else and say, hey, what about this? Can I try that? But it is not medical advice because I haven't seen you and haven't examined you, looked at x-rays, anything like that. The link to my website, if you would like to see me as a patient, like I said, I'm an orthopedic surgeon, orthopedic sports medicine specialist, board certified in both of those, and trying to get a third board certification in anti-aging and regenerative medicine, hopefully by this fall, once I pass the written and the oral exams, which, knock on wood, I intend to do, then be triple board certified. So you can go to my website. There's a contact page that you can request an appointment. You have to come to Charleston, South Carolina if you want to be seen and me offer some of these non-surgical, some of the innovative treatments that I like to try to use to get people better without surgery. Or we could set up a time to just talk as sort of a coaching session that I do occasionally as well. So think about that as we go. Again, leave your comments in the chat as we go. Let me see here. Dina says, let me move this out of the way here. 120 days, 4 months after ACL reconstruction. How much time do you have to spend with physical therapy? So I have said in about every different injury I can think to take care of that I am a huge fan of physical therapy. And there's a couple things when people ask how long do they need to be in therapy. Well, there's a how long do you need to be in therapy, and then there's a how long can I do physical therapy. As far as physical therapy goes, the easy answer to that question is as long as it takes. As long as it takes to get full motion back, as long as it takes to get full knee flexion and extension back, full strength in that lower extremity, thigh, hip, leg, all the muscles around the knee, all of that. But then it's also being able to do sport-specific activities, being able to land on it, being able to push off on it, being able to turn on it, and having it feel normal. And you have to work through some of that. In my experience, that typically takes about 6 months, even though usually you can start scaling back how many times a week that is. But again, everybody's a little bit different. And the higher you're trying to get back to, so the college and pro athletes, it may take a little bit longer because what their physical demands and the level they need to be able to get to is higher than maybe sort of the average person. Now, the trick is, and this really applies to the United States, I don't know how physical therapy is reimbursed in other countries, but one of the challenges with physical therapy in the United States is twofold. One, insurance companies generally have really started cutting back what they pay physical therapists, so there's usually a fairly large copay with a lot of insurance plans, meaning every visit you pay an extra $25 or $50, something like that, or you get a certain number of physical therapy sessions for the entire calendar year. The problem is with an ACL reconstruction, you're almost certainly going to burn through all of those, and then you're paying out of pocket after that. So it can be really tricky either way with that. But Dina, however you say that, I apologize. I should know that. I Hope that answers your question. All right. If anybody else has any questions, definitely send those to me. And again, if you do want to come to Charleston, South Carolina, I do see patients in Charlotte, North Carolina too, but there I just see patients from North and South Carolina. People from the other 48 states, or if you're coming from another country, contact me about coming to Charleston. And why wouldn't you want to come to Charleston? It's 75 degrees and perfectly sunny, not a cloud in the sky right now. I don't know how it is everywhere else, but Charleston's pretty great. We got great food, we're on the ocean, all the history. It's a great place. You'd like it if you want to come. All right, Ragul. I assume that's an OCD lesion, but I may be wrong. No pain. Doctor says if the pain, I would do microfracture. All right, so and I don't have an elbow model here, but it's the same thing. This is a common condition in the knee as well. Osteochondritis dissecans in the knee, but they're basically OCD stands for osteochondral defect, where a small piece of cartilage and bone breaks off, in this case in the elbow, and all of a sudden you have a non-smooth surface rubbing. Get my little elbow model here, but as you're bending back and forth, you would have a non-smooth surface rubbing on each other. If it's fixable, meaning you can go into the elbow and fix it with screws, that would be ideal. But the problem in the elbow is that you would have to do a big open surgery to get to it, most likely, unlike the knee. Sometimes it's in a place you could do arthroscopically, but that's kind of tricky. What he's talking about with the microfracture is if you take out that piece of bone and cartilage, you do this procedure where you take what looks like a fancy ice pick and you poke holes in the bone to try to stimulate bleeding into that lesion, to have it fill with what's called fibrocartilage. Microfracture has had good short-term success, especially when studied for the knee. Not so good long-term success because it's not as durable as the normal hyaline cartilage that makes up the articular cartilage lining of a joint. This is my knee model where it shows, I can show you better. That blue is the articular cartilage, and if you have a rough surface, which microfracture tends to leave, and less brittle fibrocartilage, that tends to break down and turn into arthritis within the next 5 to 10 years. So that's one of the tricks. In the elbow, yeah, you could try to fix it. You could try to go in and put cylinders of bone and cartilage and osteochondral allograft or autograft, or yeah, you could try a microfracture, or I mean, in theory, you could try taking the piece out, but my concern would be development of osteoarthritis along, down the road in the future. So, Dina says daily exercise with physical therapy. I don't know that there's a right answer and how long it takes. I would just do whatever the physical therapist gave you for home exercises. Try to do those every day, or however he or she recommended it. It sort of depends a little bit on what the exercises are, but it takes as long as there are exercises, however many sets and reps and everything like that. The key with home exercises, and Dinah didn't ask this, but the challenge with home exercises is that you have to do the exercises correctly with the correct mechanics. You're not just flailing your arm or flailing your leg around and not doing it correctly. And sometimes that can cause more trouble than it solves. So when you're in physical therapy and they give you exercises to work on at home, make sure they show you the proper techniques to do that. All right, that is all I've got for you. It looks like it's going to be a short day. Very, very excited to be here. Excited that it's Friday, heading into what should be a great weekend. Next week, just so you know, and I'll say this in case anybody has a last question, I am moving my Better Than Ever live shows from 12 p.m. to where they originally were, which is 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Ask Dr. Geier Live on Friday will still be at noon, but the Better Than Ever live shows on Tuesday and Thursday are now going to be at 5 p.m. And I apologize for missing the shows this week. My practice has just gotten a lot busier, and it's hard for me to leave in the middle of the day to come back to my TV studio in my house and then go back to clinic again. So we're going to move it to the end of the day. Now, I know that makes it hard for a lot of the people, certainly in other parts of the world, but it's the best I can do to make sure I'm here on a regular basis. Plus, that is not where I answer medical questions. I do those on Fridays at noon. Tuesdays and Thursdays are more health studies, new studies on aging and nutrition and diet and exercise and new treatments, peptides and various modalities and PRP and exosomes and things like that. It's fun, but it's a little more informative rather than just me answering questions. So definitely check that out starting next week, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you right back here next week.